Hello and welcome to the second part of my Bloom Blueprint series, where I take you behind the scenes of the second phase of rooting. So I'll be sharing in real time my own journey of moving into this inner winter phase of returning back to self, and what I'm doing in practice to integrate all that's coming up and how I'm using the Bloom portal to work on this. I already recorded and posted the first phase of surrender, of shedding, letting go. So if you're curious to watch that and follow along the journey, I'll link that below so that you can catch up before watching this second phase. But to give you a bit of an update in terms of where I am and how I'm entering this space. So I have had a fairly busy few weeks coming back from Italy. So I was in Europe for 2 months and drove back to the UK, and since then I've had a very intense intense week, and this last week I've just been starting to slow down and ground. So I'm saying this to say that I always find that whatever phase I am about to go deep into always comes up most perfectly timed. So I'm very much in this need of slowing down, grounding, settling my nervous system, just coming back to self, getting some of those foundations back in place. So I haven't wanted to rush into this phase until I was ready, and now it's perfectly timed. And it's not to say you have to wait or the conditions have to be perfect, but I do often find that the timing always aligns, and trusting your intuition and your nudge as and when you are called to go further into a phase is a really good starting point. So I am very much in need of this phase and very much looking forward to seeing what's coming up. I will start in a moment and record a little bit during, but then come back and share some reflections, what's been coming up. But as it stands, I am feeling excited to just come back to the basics, to just get a few things in place that I feel like are going to be really supportive, especially because I am sensing very much this kind of identity shift and a shift in my work and how I work and what I'm being called to do, which is very much more creative expression. But I feel like for that flow, for that more I guess more creative, spontaneous way of working, I know that the right structure and foundations are going to be super helpful. So that's kind of a little bit of intention of what I'm wanting to explore going into this, but also I think also balancing time for myself and that more kind of aligned action. And I think lastly, just permission to just be. I always find that one beautiful thing with the Bloom Blueprint is that each phase is almost like a massive permission slip for us to just honour and be in that phase, because often we're so conditioned societally and habitually to force ourselves to be in a different season than what we potentially are in, whether that's feeling pressure to show up and work when actually we need to rest, or even vice versa. So a large part of this is just giving myself permission to be in this phase that I'm in, to really honour that and go all into it. So that is a big part that I'm also looking forward to, and yeah, seeing what comes up. Anyway, I'll leave this here and I'll share more from the other side. Thanks so much for joining, and if all of this is sparking an interest, do check out the links where you can find out more about this Bloom Blueprint and how you can move through these phases in your own time, as well as support from a group, membership, community that are all moving through this work in real time as well. So I haven't quite managed to capture any b-roll of me working through the first part, but I've just finished the first part of this second phase, which is really opening up and exploring the theme and beginning to notice what this theme means for ourselves. So there's a real emphasis on beginning to understand how we as individuals operate as a human being and what we really need to nourish, support, take care of self, and not through the old lens of conditioning and maybe what we've been taught or what's been normalized in society, but really getting curious around our personal, individual, unique needs. So this has already opened up so much for me, really starting to feel into what it is that I need in this moment, and also what is going to be helpful practically for protecting that. So for instance, at the moment I'm yearning for a bit more stillness, a bit more pause, and practically looking at how I can protect that time. But then there's also this desire for moving my body, especially dancing. So I find dance is something really helpful for me to just express and move through things. So yeah, there's this desire to kind of hold more space for that, as well as the stillness. I'm really enjoying meditating at the moment and doing that with an eye mask, in darkness, stillness. So yeah, there's something about those two energies or spaces needing to be held. And what I also really enjoyed in this kind of intro was it always comes back to our relationship with self, but also particularly our body, and how we can begin feeling safe from within and being more in the body. So noticing if we're disassociating or just not being present. And I feel like it's a real reminder for me to always pay attention to that relationship with self, especially my body, and how when we're not in an aligned relation with that, how that is then mirrored outside of ourselves. So yeah, it's a real kind of invitation to just notice that and notice how I can kind of keep coming back to self and getting curious around that relationship, which ultimately is the most important relationship and the one that's going to serve and be most helpful. And just looking at my notes as well, I wrote a ton, so there's some really powerful questions at the end. Also around relationship with belonging, so belonging to self and feeling more at home in the body. This has been a massive theme that comes up a lot for me, and how I can keep giving myself that permission to feel that sense of belonging from within and not need it externally validated in any ways. And I also noticed towards the end that despite this whole phase being about slowing down, going inwards, I noticed how there was still this tendency to kind of be rushing ever so slightly, almost moving through it in a productive way as quickly as I could, whilst doing it all. There was a slight edge on urgency. So it was interesting noticing that, especially as in the second part of this second phase, there is a whole spotlighting of relationship with time. So it's not a coincidence that it's come up. I feel like there's going to be something there for me. And I'm being quite aware of not wanting to add more to my list to try and analyse this or make it mean anything more than it has to be. But there was definitely this kind of awareness on that urgency, which I am gonna just notice and look forward to seeing what else comes up from this. But I am gonna take pause here and give myself a bit of space and time just to allow what I've moved through to land. And then most likely tomorrow or in a few days, I will move into the second part, which is coming back into the body, working with a body communion flow to really start somatically working with this theme. So I will share more then. Just finished the body communion flow and the meditation that's part of this second phase of rooting. Safe to say I'm feeling very relaxed, very grounded, almost struggling to speak. So I'm going to keep this quite short and share more in a few days likely. But I made the conscious intention decision to do this outside. I wanted to be in nature, very in keeping with this theme of groundedness and coming back to the earth, the body. And what I really enjoyed with the meditation, and for kind of background, the meditation focuses on how we can be invited to cultivate this feeling of safety from within. And it really brings in some exploration around the theme, but also brings in this sense of how we can feel at home within and how we can come back to self and really be empowered to feel those feelings from the inside out. And as much as we may intellectually, conceptually understand that idea, it's a whole other thing shifting into experiencing and really anchoring into that from within. And I feel this is what the meditation does so beautifully. It really gave me a chance to just be with those feelings, feel that feeling. And it's interesting because I think going in, I was expecting or thinking maybe there'd be more insights and things that came up, but really throughout both of these journeys, all I was being inspired to do was just to relax, to just be, to just feel those feelings and feel my body. I could feel my body softening as I went through it, just relaxing. I could feel a little bit of movement wanted to come through, but mostly kind of just stillness, mostly just being. So it was much more in the body, very in keeping with the theme, much less in the mind. Not many insights, more just kind of feelings. I guess that realization or remembrance of where the feeling comes from, but that besides that, just this beautiful permission to just be, and very much supported obviously by these beautiful surroundings. Birds singing, cherry blossom. It all came together in such a beautiful way. And I think it's also, I think part of me coming out was like, wow, it can be this simple. We can simply take these moments to be in nature, to ground and roots. Yet, why does it take being on this bloom journey and setting this time aside for this to protect the time and have the permission? Why is this not more ingrained? And I guess this is the whole point of this second phase, to revisit that, reorient and prioritize and start putting self first. So yeah, as I said, I think before, I think the biggest thing with this journey is it just being a massive permission slip to do just that. So yeah, I am thoroughly enjoying that and making the most of it, feeling very relaxed, and yeah, just with the intention to carry that feeling moving forward and to see how I can take moments to anchor that. It's almost like with the feeling or that felt sense of groundedness and safety being sparked, it almost feels easier to locate that and bring that forth and come back to that more easily. That's kind of what I'm sensing here. So I'll see how I get on with that, and I guess knowing I can just come back to this, do this again, or pop out in nature. So I'll keep you posted as this journey goes, but for now, feeling very relaxed. And as always, if this is sparking something and you want to hold space for yourself to go on this kind of journey, do check out my Bloom Collective, as you get access to the Bloom portal, which includes this journey of the Bloom Blueprint. So yeah, if this is feeling resonant, do check that out, or get in contact if you want to find out more, or book a one-to-one call with me. That option is always there. Very welcome to find out. But for now, enjoy yourselves. Well, I guess you'll watch the rest of this video, but I'm going to go enjoy myself, and I'll share more soon. So I'm about halfway through this rooting phase, and I've just gone through some journal prompts and a lesson around beginning to cultivate safety from within. So this is a really core part of this phase. So beginning to notice if and when we might be outsourcing, or I guess looking externally for our felt sense and source of safety and security. So that might come in the form of looking for validation or perceived sense of kind of safety and security in control, money, other people. It can look and feel different, but it's that same kind of principle of looking outside of self instead of internally. So what was really interesting for me was the thing that came out most strongly was noticing that I wasn't always giving myself permission to have needs, or to be allowed to prioritize taking care of my needs. That was what kind of came through as the potential wound or insight or belief that may still be kind of entangled in that, or holding myself back in some way. And it's not surprising in one sense, as I feel like the overarching theme that has been coming through is reorienting and prioritizing self. So yeah, it's interesting to really kind of see that really clearly, that actually I don't sometimes feel like I'm allowed to prioritize self, or have the needs in the first place. So that's obviously a story or something that's been playing out from who knows where from. But it's almost like once you really see it, it begins having a bit less of a hold. So that's something I'm definitely going to sit with, and I'm sure I'll notice even when that's playing up. And this phase also really gives the opportunity to also explore inner and outer conditions and environments, and how those are either supporting and nourishing us, or depleting, draining, and having the opposite effect. And I think this is again is such a powerful point of actually just having permission to get super curious and clear on what is it that we as an individual need to just operate in the world. So what does our unique expression, what does me for myself, what do I need to just look after myself? And sometimes we haven't even asked that question, we've just assumed based on what everybody else is doing or what's societally acceptable, especially if you're neurodiverse, or I mean, we all have our individual flavors and expressions, but I think some more than others, we're more at that kind of fringe of what is societally accepted and normalized in a way. So yeah, this is coming at the perfect time, because I always also find it helpful to revisit my own kind of foundational elements in terms of my nourishment, my movement, space, time, all of the things that I kind of need just to operate. And what I find is, because we're constantly growing, evolving, changing, it's really, it can be really helpful just to revisit those quite every so often, or when we intuitively feel called to, because what may work in one season of your life or one phase may be different to another. So yeah, whenever I feel that pull or have this opportunity, it's always a great opportunity. So yeah, it feels feeling very grounded and very relaxed, but also quite excited to actually revisit some of those foundational elements. So getting quite practical, and really looking at it from what my body and intuition are leading to. So not from the mind, not from conditioning, not what makes logical sense, but actually putting all of that aside and getting curious, okay, what do I actually need? What is my body actually calling for? So there's a real discernment piece in this, going beneath the layers. So yeah, I'm really excited for that, but then also this permission, allowance, and continuing to give myself that permission to have these needs in the first place, but to also prioritize them and have those boundaries in, have that discipline with myself as well. It really starts within. And I think actually I was just free flow journaling at the end there, and I think the irony with all of this is, like, when we give to ourselves, that is when we are then in overflow to give to others. So it really is the most giving thing that we can do, not just for ourselves, but for all those around us and for the world. To make the world a better place, it starts with giving to ourselves. So that is the irony of all of this, because on the surface it can look like it's selfish, but actually it's the most selfless thing we can do, giving to ourselves so that we can also give to others in the world. And as I say, with kind of all my work, everything always begins and ends with us. So everything ultimately also is some form of reflection or mirror around us. So that really, again, really just points to how we have to begin with ourselves, our relationship with self, coming back to that. And you know, this goes deeper than self-care. It's really just being the most loving, present person we can for ourselves, and then letting that ripple out. And I think also the beauty here is, you know, it brings us back to reclaiming our power, our sovereignty, and our inner authority. But also, we can't expect to receive and get from others if we can't even do that for ourselves. That's always also a mirror off of the dynamic with self. So yeah, this I think is the phase that is often overlooked and rushed, and generally people are always willing to look at forward momentum, how do we get going forward? But what this really teaches us is the power of slowing down before speeding up, and the power of deepening our roots so that bloom, that inevitable bloom which will come, will be even more beautiful, even more powerful. And yeah, it can feel counterintuitive. This is often where frustrations, contrast can come up. But actually, when we kind of remember that truth, that in itself almost can relax us, because actually this is what is going to support the direction we want to go in. So yeah, feeling quite contented. It was the reminder that I needed. Want to just kind of ground and ease into the rest of my day from here. I'm actually off the back of this going to reprioritize a few things, because I'm realizing very subtly how I wasn't prioritizing myself. So I will be re-feeling into my day off the back of this, and also just taking as much time to just appreciate being in nature, being in this more slower pace, and enjoying it, because there will be a season where the forward momentum's there and it's going to be all aligned action forward. So yeah, I think it's also a nice reminder to just enjoy this phase, and there's beauty and something amazing to appreciate in each of the phases. So yeah, I will leave this here, and the next part is going to be interesting, so it's going to be spotlighting relationship with time. So I will do that in a few days, hopefully. When the divine timing is right, I will continue along this. So I've just finished the root phase, and I've had a few days actually since I did it, because I think honouring this root phase has in practice been just slowing down and not rushing to even document it. So no B-roll from this either. I did it in bed, very fitting with the theme, feeling super cozy, and now a lot of things have been landing since that. So I'm just going to share a few things. I guess first I just want to share that this theme or this phase also has a section just to spotlight our relationship with time, because often what I find is a lot of the resistance around working with the Bloom Blueprint, and just generally in life, is the resistance around us feeling like we need to be somewhere other than where we are. So feeling like we're behind, or that there's not enough time, or there's kind of urgency. And the root phase in particular, because we are slowing down, going inwards, underground, this is the kind of inner winter, naturally brings up that theme and really spotlights where our relationship with time is. And I see this come up so much with the clients I work with and in my own life. So there's a whole dedicated section just on this. And as always, divine timing, it came at the perfect time for me to really look at that, and to look at where am I still rushing, or where is there urgency. And the irony was, at the time of working through this phase and looking at that relationship with time, I was in the mid-launch of something which, from logic, intellect, is where most people would push harder, do more. And I was like, okay, if I'm really gonna practice what I preach and lean into this, do what this work is asking me to do, and what I'm also intuitively being called to do, let me really test slowing down and doing less. So I made a bit of an edgy choice to actually not post on Instagram at all. I had to really check in and discern, is it avoidance, or am I resisting something, or is this what I'm called to do? So that is the nuance with all of this, because there is discernment in really feeling into what phase you're in, and checking that what you are being called to do is coming from that aligned, inspired place, and not because you're avoiding something or that there's resistance. So what might look like one thing for one person, you'll never really know internally where it's coming from. Only you will know that. And what might be one path at one moment in time might look very different at another moment or season of life. So that's just the massive kind of caveat with all of this. But for me, I think my default before would have been pushing more. So I feel what I was being asked to do was the opposite, and to actually trust and slow down, trusting the timing, still move forward when it was super aligned. So I still sent a few emails and still done a few things, but it was an edge to do a lot less than what I would normally do. No logic, but trusting what I needed to do. And what has been so beautiful is that I've really been able to relax to such deeper levels than before. I think there's levels to relaxing. but really come more in harmony. But the reason I mentioned relaxing is because that's really one of my key indicators to know where I am in that moment with my relationship with time. Because if I'm not relaxed, not feeling present, then there's a constriction, and I know I'm working from an old belief system, an old way of being. So that's the kind of first piece. And I think the other has been really giving me permission to examine my beliefs around time, which I do on an ongoing basis, but it's really coming to fine tuning now. Because if I truly believe that everything is happening in divine timing and I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, and there's an acceptance and there's a trusting, knowing that you truly cannot lose what's meant for you, then naturally your body does relax because there is nothing to worry about. We come back into presence, and in the present moment we can feel and know that everything truly is okay, and we can trust in that greater unfolding. So when we're not operating from those beliefs or anchoring into them, it's really noticeable when we have that awareness and presence. And again, the caveat here is we get to choose what beliefs we want to keep and what serves us. So the beliefs that resonate with me may be different from you, but we all have that power to choose, that inner authority, sovereignty, to come back to choosing what beliefs we want to keep and what ones maybe are outdated, no longer serve us, maybe came from old conditioning, whatever, but we can consciously begin releasing them with love and noticing in these moments which ones we're operating from, which ones feel good, and which ones are giving us that environment to come back to that presence and relaxing. So this is all just to say, yeah, it's been a powerful holding of understanding relationship with time, both from the kind of mental mind level, but also more importantly coming back to the body and noticing how that feels in relation to this and how I want to move forward. So I guess to kind of loop back to where I am now with all of that, I've really been able to remember how I want to be moving forward with relating to time and my work, and actually I want to be relaxed and flowing and not rushing. You know, the whole point of what I want to do for myself, like the purpose of all of this, is so that I have more time and can simply have moments of doing nothing if that's what I wish to do, and only moving forward where I feel inspired. So it's almost been a reminder of I don't have to wait for a future date to do that. I can be doing that now, or at least feeling into that essence and looking at how I can integrate that now. There's nothing really stopping me, and if there is, we can again consciously make choices to gradually shift to what does feel more aligned. So it's been feeling really empowering, and I feel as part of all of this, naturally there's a choosing of self, choosing to prioritize myself and my needs above all else, and really noticing in real time how that's affecting not just how I feel, but how things are beginning to mirror that shift back. And I'm going to share more on that most likely when I get into the third emerge phase, because I feel like it's almost the seeds are being planted, the groundwork is happening, I'm building these great foundations of coming back to self, and things are beginning to shift. But I feel, in that third phase is where that momentum is going to naturally start building. And I think the last thing I want to kind of share before closing this off is there's a beautiful part around, in the integration phase, there's a beautiful part on just getting super clear around what conditions we personally as an individual need to thrive. And this is something that, again, I keep coming back to, because so often we're doing what we feel we should do to take care of ourselves, and not really looking at, okay, but based on who I am now in this moment, what do I actually need? And based on the season I'm in, the phase I'm in. And for me, being someone who's super introverted, very sensitive to my surroundings, to energies, this has just become more and more important, especially going out into the world and being of service and doing the work that I'm doing. It's almost like I can only go so far out if I haven't had that space, time, energy for myself. So I'm realising even more boundaries are needed to put in place, even more permission is needed for me to just go inwards and give myself what I need, and be okay with those needs and with what I personally need to just operate as a human being. So it's been really nice to just revisit all of that. This has felt like a bit of a reset, a bit of getting back to just good habits, healthy habits, but good by my definition, and obviously for yourself it would be your own personal definitions, and really examining the beliefs behind all of this, but really coming back to the body, because the body is this beautiful instrument, this vessel that we have to discern, to tune in, to sense, to feel. And if we're not coming back to that and taking care of it, nourishing it, having that connection to get the information we need from it, and being in this beautiful communion with it, it's very challenging to then move forward in that alignment, in honouring self. So I think that has been probably the biggest remembrance, and really kind of enjoying just resetting and getting this strong foundation in, which has come at the right time for me. I think I've certain other things sometimes creep in, especially when we're just operating from the mind, and sometimes this pause, this phase is just what we need to kind of reset and come back to what we intuitively or on some level know and sense is what we're needing, but sometimes for some reason struggle to do it and give that. So I think I've been rambling a lot here, but I guess if I was to end on a note, I would say I'm just feeling very relaxed, very much more in harmony and in tune with myself, my needs, my body, and I'm just more at peace with the timing of things, the acceptance of where I am and the season that I'm in, and that feels really good. And it always begins with the inner shift, and this I think is what this phase is all about, is really enjoying that inner shift. And there's already like a spark of looking forward to what's next, but without rushing. So yeah, I feel that's a good place to be. So thank you so much for joining and listening and following along my journey. I will obviously document the next phase, and obviously if you're feeling called to do this journey for yourself, or if any of these themes are resonating, then yeah, do check out the Bloom Collective, where you get access to the portal and can move through all of this in your own time. You're always welcome to book a call and find out more as well on what I offer, and yeah, if anything's resonating. Anyway, I will leave this here for now. I hope you enjoy wherever you are, and yeah, take care of yourself. Sending so much love and looking forward to seeing you on the next one.